Hi guys, how are you? Okay, so today we are going to be making the Candy Road for our Candy Road Street, right? And so the idea is that you guys created all a bunch of houses and we're going to be cutting those out, doing the collage. But the first step is to make the Candy Street. So I'm going to go ahead. You should have a long piece of poster paper. And so you want to make the road. The road is basically, we're thinking that it's going to be made out of tar, black. So we're going to use our ruler all across and make a line. And how you do that, just so we can get started and just so that we're clear, is that when you are putting this, and you can do it, you're going to maybe need to do it on the floor because it might not fit on the desk, unless you happen to have a long table, is that you have to make sure that you're not wiggling this as you are making the line. You are making the line and holding this as close to the bottom, and then as you get along, you just shift it over, which is very easy, and you are keeping it nice and neat. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom closer so you can see what I'm doing. So you get the bottom of the paper. Again, you are making the line so that it's making sure that the ruler is touching the bottom, because the idea is that we want to make the width the same for the entire thing, right? So I just go ahead, make a line across. It's pretty simple, okay? And then I am extending that over here, making sure, again, that line and the bottom of the ruler is touching so that it ends up being one whole perfect section. See? The next step is that you are going to color that black, right? So you can use a color pencil, which is not my first choice. I would always opt to use a crayon. And the reason we use a crayon for this, definitely if you're going to be coloring the houses, the trees, color pencil markers, right? But if you're going to be coloring the road, it's going to take it's going to be sharpening a lot. So the best choice is definitely to use a crayon. So I have a black crayon, and I'm going to go ahead and color that. Let me just go ahead and do that. Okay. All right, here we go. So we're coloring that in, and you want to make sure that you don't get sloppy and come out of the line. And the great thing about a crayon is that, I know it looks like right now I'm not necessarily doing as neat. You want to go the same direction because you don't want it to look like scribble scrabble. And you want it to be solid. The great thing about a crayon is that because the process is done so fast, going over to the parts that may necessarily not be perfect in terms of have a little spot that's showing or sneaking out, you want to make sure that that is completely covered with black. Now, you have one or two options for the next part. I'm going to just go ahead and keep coloring, but I will talk. If we look at roads, they have sort of like a hyphenated little kind of hyphen type of thing that's going on, kind of, it shows which direction people should be driving. So what you can do is that you would need a piece of white paper, and I will show you in a moment how easy it is to do that part. Okay, I'm still coloring away. I hope that you guys been doing interesting houses, houses that are different. That's the important thing. Like, if you go to a street and every house is the same, that can create some sort of, like, it'll be picturesque. But I think to make Candyland Road outstanding and really be something that really catches your eye is that every house should be different. It should be something that is memorable. It should highlight different kinds of candy. So for instance, if you make a house with peppermint candy, you don't want to make another house with a whole bunch of peppermint candy because then it ends up looking the same. We want to create a sense of wonder. And one of the ways of achieving that is by making every house different. So that didn't take so long. Everything is now colored. Less than 5 minutes, right? Now, you get a piece of paper to make those little hyphenated things. And how you do it is that you just fold right over here. Decide what width. You don't want to make it too thick. You maybe want to do 2, depending on how many you want to put. I'm going to go ahead and do 2. And that's just in case, because I'd rather be safe than sorry. So I then get my paper. And the key is folding, because when you fold, it guarantees that if you're folding evenly, it guarantees that you are measuring it exactly the same, right? We did that when we did the lion hair. So you fold this in half vertically, right? And you just go ahead and cut. Okay. Now I'm only going to take one, and I'm going to imagine before we glue, we should always space it out and lay it out. So now I have one, looks sort of like a straw. I fold it in half, cut, fold it again in half, cut, and to me that looks like a good. Now if I want to go a little short, I could fold that again in half. So I'm going to actually lay it out and see if I need that extra. Let me see. I'm laying it out to see if I need that extra, and it looks like I do. Looks like I need one more. So I'm going to still repeat the same thing over here, and I'm not going to necessarily use all these pieces, but I want to be the same. And since this is already the same width and length as the other one, it's easy. You just keep folding, which is what I'm doing right now. And then, oopsies, I only need one. I'm going to fold that in half. Done. So now if I lay it out, and then I want to space it out evenly. So I'm going to now just space it out as evenly as possible as I can. That means I might have to move things around, and that's okay, because we want to make sure that it's kind of spread out evenly. That means I have to shift this a little bit over, and then I have my glue stick. So now I laid it out. That's always good to lay things out before you glue, because you don't want to make a mistake. And then if you do, it's not the end of the world. So then I obviously apply glue to the piece, then press, apply glue to this other piece, and press. And one more time, well, a few more times because I have actually 4 more pieces, and press, and go ahead. So this is turning out nicely, and it looks very neat, and it creates kind of a nice little road out there, so that you could be like, if there were cars going or if people were riding their bicycles, they could easily ride their bicycles on the road. And then they would see these beautiful candy houses. Okay, so let me show you how that looks. Is that? Now, I'm going to show you some examples of one of my other students, 2 of my students actually, who created or in the process of creating. So one that is fully done is this one. And each house, if you notice, she has 2 ice cream houses. They have the criteria that they have to have windows and they have to have a door. And so what she did, and I suggested, is that they should not be directly next to each other. They're also colored very differently, right? One is with mostly yellow, one is with turquoise. You can't see that well. One has like strawberries. One has stripes, so they look different. So that's key, right? And there are trees or bushes that look different. She even did clouds. So each house is spaced out slightly. If it were something this space, you could make a little bush. But I definitely want to see at least 1 to 2 trees. That means that even though you're making 6, you might only be able to fit 5, and that's okay. I would rather you have 5 that are showcasing different styles and are being spread out, because we don't want the houses to be smushed. We want a little bit of space there. And then my suggestion for clouds would be, she did rainbow clouds. You could do other clouds, but this is another thing. Your background is red, or if you happen to do this at home with a different color background, you don't want to use the same color as the background. So for instance, if the sky is red, the background is red, you don't want to use a lot of red, because then it's not going to pop out. I'm going to show you another example of someone else. They're not quite done, but I think this is beautiful. So she has a cupcake house. Do you see that? And then she made a tree. Now, I would have gone a different route, that the inside is not green, but she did, and that's okay. But she made a whole bunch of kind of different candy there. The bush is something that I really like, because it's yellow and it has candy, and it's supposed to be a lollipop, so it is a candy bush, and it's not going the traditional route of being green. Again, she's planning to do another ice cream house somewhere around here, and this is the castle that she did. Key thing is that when you're spreading it out, and if you have these little sections over here, that's the perfect opportunity to do a tiny little bush. Again, do not smush. put it all together, kind of space it out, plan it out, and take your time. You or have to do this today and finish by tomorrow, hopefully. Anyway, have an awesome one, and I hope this was helpful. Bye.